Hello, kids, and welcome to another edition of Sunday Night Soccer here on Straight from the Training Ground, America's Real Soccer Culture podcast. Due to some technical difficulties and unforeseen circumstances, you may be stuck with me tonight, flying solo. We'll see if Mike D can make it or not. But nonetheless, the show must go on. We do have a special guest tonight, Coach Rory, which we're excited to have him on. We'll have him when we get to our coaching segment. He has a great YouTube channel. Check him out, Coach Rory. Which we'll talk about later, but he has some great insight into coaching youth, some aspects of coaching small-sided age groups that might be overlooked a lot, and a lot of great things to get into like always. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. A lot of crazy things going on this week in soccer like always. So we'll talk about this week in soccer. We'll go over the stats and league leaders. We also have the league tables now that MLS has started with including the MLS, the East Division, East Conference, and the Western Conference. We have a coaching segment, like we said. We're going to talk about the big issue, which we'll get into in a minute. Keep you hanging there, so you have to watch and figure out what that is. We'll have some highlights, a Soccer Rebellion highlight later on, and our Spanish lesson. And we'll see if we have any errores. We may have a perfect game going tonight because we don't have a backroom staff maybe either. So that's good news for me, bad news for you. But with that being said, this week in soccer, some of the big topics going on around the world as we speak right now during the time of this show. Inter Miami is playing at the Houston Dynamo. No Messi. They announced that Messi would not make the trip or he would be resting. So the Houston Dynamo are compensating fans with some free tickets. FA Cup weekend in England, a lot of good games there. Seeing some of the smaller teams get to play the big guys, always entertaining. Real Betis upset Real Madrid during the week. That was a big result in Spain. Japan defeated the U.S. women's national team in the She Believes Cup. And San Diego had a record crowd for their home opener in MLS, which unfortunately was marred by some unfortunate negative chants and some discipline that had to take place there during the game. But an exciting time nonetheless for San Diego. Props to them for being the new expansion team and having a great outing. I think it was 34,000 that showed up for their home opener, which obviously was years in the making. So a lot of work went into that. Always amazing to see. And it is now March. So I don't know about you, but most of you that are out there coaching or playing soccer, hopefully spring is right around the corner. And March is Women's History Month. So we will try to make a point of that each week during March and promote Women's History Month. Moving into the league tables here, if you look at Liverpool basically in England, kind of running away with the league. As we mentioned last week, you can see all that green means that they're on a streak. They're winning. They continue to kind of run away with it. Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, though, still hanging in tight there in third. And Man City, as of right now, still in the fourth spot in the English Premier League. And one of the things we've talked about before with those top four spots means a lot of money to each team. And it also means more games, more prestigious competition by being able to be in that Champions League next year. So although Liverpool are kind of running away with it, it still makes for an exciting season because if you look there at Man City, in fourth place, Chelsea right behind them, just 1 point behind them. Newcastle, 3 points back. Bournemouth still in the hunt. Brighton still in the hunt there. And then Fulham 9th, Aston Villa 10th. So that fourth spot still kind of up for grabs. Maybe even the third spot, you could say, with Nottingham Forest. So still a lot to play for down the stretch here in the spring in the English Premier League. Moving on to Serie A. Still have Inter in the lead there. You see Napoli, Atalanta, Lazio, Juventus, Bologna, Fiorentina, Roma, and AC Milan, who lost today. A little bit of a crazy game if you watched any of that. But again, AC Milan struggling a little bit. And Udinese rounding out the top 10. And again, you can see a tight race there at the top with the top three teams. Lazio 8 points back in fourth place. But Juventus 1 point back. Bologna right there again. So still some spots to fight for. Some teams still in the hunt there for that fourth spot in the Champions League in Serie A. Moving on to Spain, Barcelona still at the top, and you can see a lot of green there, a lot of good results lately as they've been playing well. Atletico Madrid second. Real Madrid has slipped to third. Athletic Club with a good game the other day, yesterday, I believe, with Athletic Bilbao. Villarreal, Real Betis, with that big upset we talked about earlier against Real Madrid, Rayo Vallecano, Mallorca, Osasuna, and Real Sociedad, struggling a little bit there, but still sitting in 10th. And again, if you look at those top 4 spots in Spain, Villarreal still with a little bit of a chance there, 4 points out there behind Athletic. So we'll see what they can do. Moving on to the Bundesliga, not a lot's changed there. You can see Bayern Munich, Leverkusen, Eintracht Frankfurt, Mainz, and again, Freiburg right there in the hunt for the 4th spot. RB Leipzig, a little ways back there, Wolfsburg, and then if you look there at the bottom, Borussia Dortmund is making a run. They've popped up to 10th place there after a shaky season in Germany in the Bundesliga. And now to MLS. We'll go over and check that out. So as you can see there, we have the East Conference and the West Conference in MLS. So if you're unfamiliar with that, it's a little bit different. But as of right now, Philadelphia, we're only about 2 games in. Philadelphia and Columbus tied for first there. Charlotte, New York Red Bulls, Orlando City round out the top 5. And then, as we said, right now, Inter Miami is down there on 1 point, but they're winning, I believe, right now at halftime. So that could bump them up to 4 points there and put them really quickly back in the hunt up there with Charlotte. On the West Coast, the West Conference, San Jose, LAFC, San Diego FC, the expansion team we just mentioned, FC Dallas, and Vancouver wrapping up the West Coast Conference, the top 5 there in MLS. So as always, we're glad to have some of our fans out there. One of our Erics is back, a legit ESPN FC rundown in the world of soccer. Well, thank you. One of our Erics is out there watching. And I'm just not gonna lie, I'm glad Eric knows what ESPN FC is. So that's a step in the right direction for him. So we're doing something right here. So keep those comments coming. We appreciate it. So moving on, that's kind of the wrap up of the league tables around the world. Our next segment here, we always check in with the Americans abroad. Johnny Cardoso scored for Real Betis, as we mentioned, a big upset during the week of Real Madrid. Ethan Horvath got his first start in goal, I believe, in like almost a year or so for Cardiff City in the Championship, which is the 2nd division in England. Got a win. Josh Sargent earned Americans Abroad Player of the Week on the SBI website, which if you follow our show, we've talked a lot about Josh Sargent lately and how well he's been playing in England. George Bello, maybe off your radar a little bit, is the left back. He scored for LASK in a 2-1 win against Rapid Vienna in Austria. He's a little bit of, he's popping up on the radar a little bit of the national team, someone to keep your eye on. And another person in that same kind of category, Marlon Fossey, is a defender. He helped Standard Liège upset 2nd place Bruges in the Belgian league. And our boys Wes McKennie and Timothy Weah from Juventus, they were knocked out, unfortunately, of the Italian Cup during the week in Italy. So not a great result for them. But nonetheless, a lot of Americans out there around the world, especially in Europe, doing some great things still. And we'll keep you posted on that. Moving along to the top stats around the top 5 leagues in Europe. Mo Salah, just like Liverpool, kind of keeps running away with the show with his own stats. You can see they're leading with both goals and assists. 25 goals now from Mo Salah, having a great season for Liverpool. Harry Kane right behind him there with Redigue from Atalanta with 21 goals, Lewandowski with 20, along with Haaland from City and Isak from Newcastle, still playing really well. Marmoush, Chris Wood, and Dembele on 18, and Mbappe still playing pretty well there for Madrid with 17 goals. In the assist category, Mo Salah again with 17, leading everyone. Lamine Yamal with 12 from Barcelona, Wirtz from Leverkusen on 11, Saka, Olise, Marmouth, Anthony Robinson, and Damsgaard. A lot of guys there tied on 10. Son from Spurs, Rafinha from Barcelona, and Marmoush in there again from City on 9. And get some respect out there for the goalkeepers of the world. Ramiro from Sociedad still leading with 12, but Oblak with Atletico Madrid is caught up 12. He has 12 as well, so he's tied him up. And we have a bunch there tied at 11. And then we round out with 10 there with Merritt from Napoli, De Gregorio from Juventus, Magnan from Milan with 10, and then Samba with 9. So there's your stats and your top 10 leaders around the top 5 leagues in Europe. So now I'd like to bring on our next guest. If you haven't looked him up, I encourage you to check out his YouTube channel. His name is Rory, but he goes by Coach Rory, which he has a great podcast, great YouTube channel, and I think he has a great kind of niche out there in the coaching world. So with that, we'd like to bring on Coach Rory. Rory, how you doing, man?
Jason, good, man. Great to talk to you again. How's everything?
It's going all right. We're just winging it right now. Usually my friend Mike D is on here with us, and Eric helps us a little bit with our backroom staff. But the show must go on, and we're making do. But glad to have you here, man. We appreciate it.
No, it's great to be here. You did a great job. Just the last 5-10 minutes of kind of summarizing the week.
Well, I appreciate it. We didn't pay you to say that or anything, but I'm warning you. I told you before you'd be on for a few minutes. I might keep you on here now to just keep things going.
That's fine, man. No, I've always enjoyed our conversations, even the stuff offline with texts and stuff like that. We have a lot of similar, I think, philosophies and thought processes. So it's good to talk to people doing good work.
So, well, I appreciate it. I don't. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
Coach Rory's been on our podcast a couple times in the past. We've had some great conversations, but just tell everybody real quick, Rory, kind of a little bit about what you do, what inspired you to start your YouTube channel in the first place, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, so it's Coach Rory Soccer on YouTube. It's probably been a channel for two or 3 years, something like that, and it started really just very innocuously as a way for players that I was coaching to go on and just see some of the ideas that I was talking about at training and just giving them basically supplemental training, using the tactical board. And it kind of morphed into more videos. I got a lot more sophisticated in how I sort of edited videos and made them and produced them. And then it just kind of exploded. We had people, I've had people from almost every continent contact me. I've gone on multiple podcasts, and I think the niche that, and again, that's probably something we're going to talk about tonight, is the fact that there's very little out there from like the U12 and under realm, which is, I have a couple things with some older teams and things like that on the channel, but the vast majority of the content is for youth and really the phase 1 U12 and under, which is really, I think part of the reason why the channel kind of has gotten so popular is that there's just not a lot out there when it comes to those age groups. So, that's basically what it is. There's some other opinion videos I have on there when it comes to the landscape of youth soccer and things like that. But for the most part, I think people come on to sort of get an idea of what they should do with their youth teams, which I'm completely honored that they do.
Yeah, that's great. So, I have a couple pictures there and things from your YouTube videos, and like you said, you and I, we've talked off and on, off camera. We've had a couple podcasts together, but why, I think you do have a great niche, and that's why I wanted to get you on here to talk during our coaching segment this week. First kind of bullet point up there, you see, why do you think that area is overlooked so much in terms of coaching and just the landscape of soccer, the 7v7, 9v9 kind of thing?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different reasons. Vast majority, like if you were to go to YouTube, if you go to YouTube now and you search for 7v7 or 9v9, it's almost, I'm like the first thing that comes up. But before that even were happening, most of the content that, was out there is really 11v11 stuff. And I think that the majority of the coaches who are kind of producing content like that online, or who are putting, session plans out there, they're college coaches. They might be, academy coaches who coach 11v11. And so you get a lot of people who, are very knowledgeable, but they're doing a lot of things that are kind of beyond the scope of, a lot of the stuff that I do is really, and I do coach at a fairly high level, but you can do them at a rec level. You can do them at almost any level in the, that you're playing at. And I think that, that's really the area where where we don't really get much education. I mean, if you go and I forget if you did, but if you go D license or your C license or your B license or any of these things in this country, it's really tailored towards the higher level competitive, market, which is really maybe 5% of the kids in the country. I mean, it's not a huge percentage. I mean, the majority of the kids in the country are either coached at a much, I don't want to use lower level, but there may be a high school or middle school. And a lot of those coaches are volunteer. Some of them have never had any experience in the game whatsoever. So, for those reasons, I think that it is overlooked. And then you try to get, content that's 11v11 and apply it to 77 or 9v9. It's like almost impossible. So, I think that's the majority of the reason why.
Yeah, you make some great points, and I think that I don't know if it's overlooked. You know more about that than I do, but I think the coaches, don't realize how difficult and different it is sometimes when you're coaching a team that plays 7v7 or 9v9. And they just think, well, I'll just go do this, and then you have less people on your team. At those ages, you have less people on your roster. You can still have 3 lines, defenders, midfielders, attackers, but it's a different setup. And I do think it's overlooked also from coaches, because I think they just look at it like soccer, right? And better than I do, but when you set up drills or activities or different things you want to work on, it is a lot different depending on the numbers you have and the way that you want to try to get kids to play. So that kind of leads me to my next thing. What is the biggest questions that you face or get from youth coaches or people that come to you for advice in that area?
So that, I think that falls under a couple of different buckets, but the number one question that I get is where to start. I get a lot of coaches who, a lot of coaches.
I'm still wondering that myself.
I think that we, this is probably more of a societal issue than maybe just specifically to youth soccer, but we get in this situation where there's just crazy kind of information overload. And, especially coaches who are just starting out, even some that have been doing it a while, it's hard to know what to focus on. And I went through the same growing pain myself as a coach. And I think for me, a lot of times I will get coaches or even parents who will say, gosh, you do the same thing over and over and over again. And I do the same things over and over and over again. Now there's different coaching points kind of tailored and layered in there. So there is some sophistication to it, but I think what tends to happen is that coaches, they do so many different exercises that the players never get any real sense of mastery. And, you might have this team 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week or whatever it might be. I mean, this is not an academy team where you have 10, 12 hours a week and you can do a million different things. So you kind of have to figure out okay, what is it that I'm going to actually focus on, and what am I going to do? Because, you can't do, especially in U12 and under, you can't do different drills. You can't do 28 different exercises. They'll never get it. You'll see it. Now you could do that if you're coaching for the Philadelphia Union's U16. Sure, you could do all sorts of stuff. But when you have a team, a rec team, and it's something that you're just trying to kind of manage. You can't do all these different things. So that's the number one question I get is, if I start, what do I do? And I have several videos on the channel kind of breaking it down in terms of things that I do. And even the teams that I coach, who I think fairly high level, I still keep it very, very consistent with my training. I don't do a lot of things outside of kind of the main, maybe 5 or 6 different core things that I do. Again, you can get kind of theme and variation with those things. It doesn't have to be just the same exact thing every time, but I just see coaches who, they just do one thing and then the next practice do something completely different, and there's no real congruency there. So that's the biggest question I get.
Yeah, well, and I think that I think that happens a lot at all age groups. Maybe more so, like you said, at the younger age groups, because I think a lot of times you have parents who are coaching those age groups, or maybe real young
Yep.
coaches who are just getting started, who tend to kind of start out of those, U8, U10 age groups and things like that. But what are some of the toughest challenges? Some of your experience, and you've done pretty well with those age groups and things. What are some of the toughest challenges you find of coaching, or that you could share with other coaches of those age groups where they play 77, 99, younger age groups?
I think everything when it comes to this sort of U12 and under, I use these terms pretty regularly when not just when I talk in podcasts, or I use these terms when I talk to parents and I do evaluations. You really have to figure out what is the context and the level of the team that you're surrounding yourself with, because the challenges are going to be totally different for a U10 rec team who is for fun, who has
Yeah.
friends and is looking to get an experience out of it, versus a U12, very high level competitive team with players who are kind of like from all over. So the challenges will be slightly different. I think it's very much adaptable or sort of, identifiable to whatever team you're on. So, I think what I see sometimes is, at least at the rec level, is I see maybe coaches expecting too much. Like they're expecting this team to do things that they really aren't ready to do or can't do. And then sometimes I think I see teams that are higher level competitive teams who have very high level players who honestly have forgot that they're kids, and they're going to try to have fun.
Yeah.
And I get these questions from these coaches that are like, well, this player is not, he's not overlapping. I tell him to overlap, and he's not. And I'm like, all right, well, I get all that, but are the kids having a good time or not? I mean, they're 10, so
I was gonna say.
I think there's a spectrum there when you say toughest challenges, but it really, I think you have to break that down into what is the team's context and level, in terms of what that challenge might be. But it can really kind of run the whole gamut.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I'll get you out here real quick, and while we have you, just want to make sure everybody knows. We'll make sure we put a link down below in our video when we're done, to Coach Rory and his YouTube channel. Make sure you check him out, Coach Rory on YouTube. Some great insight, things like that. We have a comment. We have a comment. Before we get you a comment from the crowd, my question for you, real quick, put you on the spot. One thing
Yeah,
you could change about
go
youth
ahead.
soccer. One thing you would change about youth soccer in our country.
Wow. How
You can
long do
only
you
pick
have?
one. No, no, no. You can only pick one.
I mean, and I have several videos on the channel like this, but I mean, the issue with youth soccer is the system. So, what I see, I did a podcast recently with Neil Crawford. He has a it's called The Inside Scoop. But he's the founder of Anytime Soccer Training. We talked about this quite at length, but a lot of times when you see these things that go viral, some Landon Donovan, somebody will say something about how broken the system is, right? They'll
Yeah.
say like, oh, it's too costly. There's travel all over the place. They'll make some comment, and it's all, to me, micro issues. Like the cost of youth soccer and pay to play is a micro issue. It's because of the system. Like the system is set up to lead it yourself to pay to play. So if I could change anything, I would change the system. Now, I don't have any misgivings that we're just going to go to promotion relegation overnight. But if I could do one, I would make promotion relegation happen in the youth game. So I would say, okay, we're going to have MLS next. I'm making this up, as the top level. ECNL is the second tier. EDP is the third tier. Whatever you want to do, and you have teams who are able to move up and down throughout that system. Because then you would really start to identify and become a merit-based system with not just coaches, but then players. So you would have this player identification system where, wait a minute, there's this team from, some let's just say a suburb of Cleveland who's in MLS Next now. What's going on? That's weird. Like, well,
Yeah.
okay, maybe they're doing something that we should start looking at, right? So if I was going to change one thing, I would say we have promotion relegation in the youth game.
Fantastic. And as you and I both know, it's not like that right now. It's more like the Wild West. Would you agree?
Oh my gosh, that is a
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah.
It's the wild, wild west, and my biggest issue is there's no meritocracy. Like there's nothing that you can do to get yourself to a higher level other than something that's nebulous, political, whatever it might be. Like,
Yeah.
and then look, I coach a pre-MLS next team. Like I'm in a club that has MLS next status. Like but there's nothing that changes if you're a small club and you do something great on the field. Like nothing, you don't get rewarded for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. So I said we get you out of here, but we do have a question here. I think it's a good question. So Eric says, Coach Rory, can you pinpoint the most common mistakes or areas neglected that you often see from coaches at those younger levels?
Yeah, I think so, and I always do preface this. I mean, some of my assistant coaches sick and tired of hearing me say context and level, but it 100% it's a context and level situation. So my general advice to people is the younger the team and the less skilled the team, the more you actually have to work on specific technical type work. Most of the stuff on my channel is not that. A lot of this stuff on my channel is building out of the back. It's tactical stuff. But I would say that, because I get a lot of questions about, all right, well, you don't have a lot of technical work on it. I tend to work with pretty high level players who actually typically have a pretty good technical base. If I didn't, I would be doing 20 to 30 minutes of technical work every single session. And I think you also get into the whole like argument of what is technical training. Cause I would argue a lot of what I do actually is technical training. Now it's not isolated player ball, work on a specific turn, a specific cut, it's not necessarily that. But if you have a group of U9 kids who are maybe middle of the road or they're wreck, I mean, you should be doing some technical work in every single session. And so when it comes to common mistakes, and the thing I mentioned before about like switching up your training every single time and doing something different, that's the number one mistake by a mile. That's just something you got to be consistent, regardless really of what you do. Because I mean, I just give you this example. I mean, I had last week. Now I normally have one assistant coach who comes with me. And most of the time it's two, because I actually coach two teams at the same time. So could be 24 kids who show up to training, and these are 10-year-olds, right? So it's not like I got 24. I don't have 24 college guys. It's 24 10-year-olds. But I set everything up, and we've done these like we start with battle boxes. We go to 4v1 rondos. That moves into like a 7-3 or a V4 positional game. Like they've done this so many times that the amount of sort of authority that I need. I mean, I have to coach. I still have to like raise my voice and get them in line and all that. But I don't have to like explain. Like they know, okay, we're doing this. Now we're doing this. Now we're doing this. I might change something up from a coaching point, or maybe I'll add like some kind of restriction or whatever. But it's not a big ask, because I've done all these things so many times. They know, and they might be 10, but like, I mean, we pretty much have done 4v1 rondos for 15 to 20 minutes every single session for the last 8 months. So when I say, hey, we're going to do 4v1, get it going, like they know. So it's, I think that's the biggest. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Jace, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think as a coach, that takes away at any age group, they can focus on the effort and the skill they need in that exercise, as opposed to, when you explain it, and this goes for any age group, you explain it, there's always a trial and error period, for a few minutes. It never quite gets up to full speed. But like you said, you build those repetitions and some routine, then they know what the expectation is. And now you can actually work on what's required. Correct?
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that when I see like, most common mistakes, it's 100% not being consistent. That's the number one mistake.
Yeah. So you heard it here first. Make sure you work on that out there. Anyone coaching those younger age groups, parents, anybody else. Coach Rory, we appreciate you hopping on here with us. We always appreciate it. Love having you on here. And best of luck in the future. Keep doing what you're doing, man. We love what you're doing. And I think you're out there, you're helping a lot of people, like we said, in that area that I think is often overlooked. So thanks again. Make sure you check him out on YouTube, Coach Rory.
Hey, thanks, man. See ya.
Appreciate it. And again, just a great guy, does a great job. So make sure you check him out. We'll make sure that we put all of his stuff on there. And we'll have links down below to check out his YouTube channel. So moving along here real quickly to the big issue. And the big issue we were going to talk about tonight was the importance of pickup games. And I think that there's a lot we could talk about here, but we spent a little more time tonight with Coach Rory because I think that was very valuable to people in those younger age groups. But the big issue was the importance of pickup games. Obviously, any of you that follow us or that watch this show or follow Straight from the Training Ground, the Soccer Rebellion, you know that we're all very big on pickup soccer, street soccer, and the importance of that. And the one thing I do want to talk about tonight, or kind of, get into this topic, is that I want people to think of this out there, not just from a soccer perspective. It doesn't really matter what sport that you're into, that you play, that you coach, that your kids play. We could be talking about pickup basketball games, pickup soccer, wiffle ball out in the backyard, pickup volleyball games, anything like that. This is obviously lacking a lot, I think, in the world we live in now and in our society. And I'm telling you this not only as a coach, but also, as a teacher and as a parent, that kids just don't do these things a lot. They have a lot more opportunities out there for them than ever before in terms of organized things and personal coaches, trainers, travel teams, all these great resources. But there's still an importance to pick up games. And the reason for that, we have here on the screen are a few important points, I think. But number one is it instills creativity. And one of the biggest reasons, one of the things we do with our futsal league we have here, I know one of the things that Mike D is huge on in terms of the Soccer Rebellion and all of the street the things we do with the soccer neighborhood and pickup games, is that it instills creativity because there is no coaching. There isn't any instruction. It's about you being out there playing. One of the quotes I love from Mike D is that he always tells kids at these events, that he gives you the recipe, right? And you're the chef. He gives you the ingredients. You go out and cook. You got to go out and do it. And sometimes it works, sometimes you fail, but that's an important lesson to learn in life. To me, the second topic there, I think the second note is probably the most important, and that is that it teaches perseverance. A lot of us grew up, as parents playing these kind of sports and pickup games where the winner stays. You win, you get to stay on the court. Basketball, you get to stay on king of the court, whether it's futsal, street soccer, wiffle ball, whatever it may be. And again, I think that that's just a great lesson to learn. It teaches competitiveness. You don't always win, and sometimes you have to sit out, and you might have to sit out for a few games until it's your chance to get back out there and play again. And I think that's just a great thing. It teaches some mental toughness, and it teaches you perseverance. Another thing is it lets players dictate the play, kind of like we already alluded to, where there's no coaching, there's no other outside interference. Just let the players dictate the play. If there's an argument, if there's an issue, you sort it out. When you were a little kid, you were playing wiffle ball, and you argued about balls and strikes. You argued about whether someone was out or whether they were safe, and you resolved it yourself. And again, it's an important life lesson to learn that we can all learn from playing pickup sports, pickup games. You can also learn from your mistakes. It creates confidence. When you do win, you have that confidence where you get to stay and play again. And I think it also creates something at the bottom there, very lacking in the world we live in now, which is internal motivation. And, I think a lot of younger players in all sports now are extrinsically motivated, but not internally motivated. And it's a very important thing to learn as well. So that's a big issue. Like we said, we might talk about that again later on, the importance of pickup games. Please send us your comments. Let us know what your thoughts are. And again, any sport, not just soccer. So we appreciate it. So we're going to move on here now to highlights. We have a highlight video that we put together here from Soccer Rebellion. And in honor of Women's History Month, we have some women here. So it's a great highlight. Check this out real quick from the Soccer Rebellion. This is, I believe, their 2024. Look at that nice little 1-2. Look at this. Little individual moves there. I love it. Love it. And then a long-range goal there in futsal. Love it from all the ladies. Great skill. So, again, real quick, a nice little 1-2. Great individual skill. And a great goal. So, shout out to them. Keep up the great work. We appreciate it, and highlights as always from the Soccer Rebellion here during Women's History Month. Moving on to our team of the week, we want to give a shout out to Sporting Columbus from Columbus, Ohio, 06-07 ECNL RL team, coached by a good friend of mine, Mark Miriello. They actually just got home. They've been in Florida playing in the ECNL RL event. They picked up 2 wins and a draw this weekend, so congratulations to them. They also start league play this week, so best of luck. And then they're heading out to the Jefferson Cup. So that's a great showcase if you've ever been there, a very big showcase in Virginia. So best of luck to them as well. Our team of the week, Sporting Columbus 06-07 girls. So keep up the great work. And last but not least, our Spanish words of the week. Be creative. Don't know about my pronunciation here, so please help me out. But this is where the wheels fall off for me personally when it comes to Spanish. Ser creativa. Okay, I'm okay with that. But then there's also ser creativo, the feminine or the masculine pronunciation. And that little bit at the end, that's where the wheels fall off with Spanish. So be creative, ser creativa or ser creativo. I'm not sure if that was correct. I think I did pretty well. Thank you. Thank you very little. I'll take it. And now on to our errores. As we don't have a backroom staff tonight, I think we pretty much pitched a perfect game. So we'll take it. We appreciate it. Everybody out there watching. And again, check us out every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday Night Soccer. And again, thanks a lot to Coach Rory for stopping by and talking about youth soccer and a lot of the difficulties and challenges out there faced by a lot of people who coach those younger age groups. So appreciate him. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you hit that button down there and like and subscribe. Straight from the Training Ground, whatever this is called that we're on. And make sure you follow us all on social media, the Soccer Rebellion, Straight from the Training Ground, and follow. You can subscribe and follow our newsletter as well. So until next time, we appreciate it. Peace out.